Thunderbird versus Outlook. For millions of office workers, Outlook isn't just software, it's the daily cage of calendars, reminders, and that endless tide of emails. Microsoft built it into the backbone of corporate life. But outside that empire, there's a survivor, Thunderbird. Born from Mozilla, it was nearly abandoned more than once, yet communities revived it again and again. Unlike Outlook, Thunderbird doesn't demand subscriptions or bind you to a company ecosystem. It's endlessly customizable, guarded by volunteers who believe that email should remain free and independent. While Outlook represents billion-dollar polish and tight integration, Thunderbird stands as proof that even in the most corporate of spaces, open source can hold its ground, kept alive by stubbornness and principle. Godot versus Unity. Unity once felt unstoppable. Every indie hit, every mobile game, every VR demo seemed to run on it. It was the engine of dreams, until cracks began to show. Corporate decisions, sudden pricing shifts, developers blindsided by new rules. It left a bitter aftertaste. And just when trust was fading, Godot appeared like a quiet rebellion, built by volunteers, fueled by donations. It doesn't charge royalties, doesn't push ads, doesn't even ask permission. It just gives developers the keys and says, go create. For small studios and hobbyists, that freedom means everything. Unity is polished, powerful, but burdened by the weight of a corporation. Godot is lighter, rawer, but carries a spirit money can't buy. The spirit of building games for the love of it, not the profit. BitTorrent versus uTorrent. File sharing once felt like the Wild West, and uTorrent was its fastest horse. Everyone used it. Lightweight, simple, the obvious choice. But over time, the horse slowed down. Ads crept in, bloat piled up, and users started asking, who's really in control here? That's when qBittorrent quietly took the spotlight. It isn't backed by a big company. It doesn't sneak in offers or trackers. It's just clean, efficient torrenting, built by a community who actually cares about the tool. For heavy downloaders, that difference is night and day. No nagging pop-ups, no mysterious background processes, just the raw function people wanted in the first place. If uTorrent represents how a popular app can sell out, qBittorrent is the story of an underdog that stayed loyal to its purpose. VirtualBox versus VMware Workstation. In the world of virtualization, VMware was the polished suit in the boardroom, powerful, expensive, and made for enterprises. If you needed to run another operating system inside your own, VMware had long been the gold standard. But then came VirtualBox, a project backed by Oracle but driven by an open source spirit. It wasn't built to impress executives. It was built to give students, tinkerers, and small developers a free doorway into multiple worlds. Need to run Linux on a Windows laptop for class? VirtualBox. Curious about testing old versions of Windows for nostalgia? VirtualBox. What VMware sold for hundreds of dollars, VirtualBox handed out freely, becoming the secret classroom of countless self-taught engineers.
Etherpad versus Google Docs. When Google Docs appeared, it felt magical. Multiple people typing into one document at the same time, each keystroke appearing live. But here's the thing, Etherpad had already done it. Back in 2008, Etherpad shocked the tech world with real-time collaborative writing, long before Google bought the company behind it and folded the team into Docs. Instead of dying, the original Etherpad code was open-sourced. Developers around the globe kept it alive, expanding features, hosting their own pads, making it a tool for activists, journalists, and classrooms where privacy mattered. If Google Docs is the gleaming skyscraper, Etherpad is the hidden workshop. Scrappy, lightweight, but carrying the DNA of the real pioneer.
MuseScore versus Sibelius.
In professional music halls, Sibelius is the standard, expensive, polished, built for orchestras and publishers who can afford its license. It's the software you'll find behind sheet music that ends up on the conductor's stand. MuseScore, by contrast, was born out of the Internet Commons. Free, open source, and accessible to anyone. It lets a high school band, an indie composer, or even a kid learning piano turn their notes into clean, shareable scores. The difference isn't just price, it's philosophy. Sibelius speaks to institutions. MuseScore speaks to individuals. And in an era where collaboration happens online and creativity often begins in bedrooms instead of conservatories, MuseScore shows that music notation doesn't have to be locked behind a paywall. It can belong to everyone.
Logseq versus Obsidian. Knowledge management sounds boring until you've tried building your own second brain. Obsidian turned that idea into a sleek commercial success, a local-first note-taking app where thoughts link together like a web. But behind it stands Logseq, fully open source, giving away the same power without locking you in. Privacy advocates love it. Your notes never leave your machine unless you want them to. The difference is cultural. Obsidian feels like a startup product, polished and monetized. Logseq feels like a living garden, shaped by its community community. Both help you weave your mind into digital form, but only one guarantees that the garden can never be fenced off.
Okular versus Adobe Acrobat. PDFs are everywhere: textbooks, contracts, forms, and Adobe Acrobat has long ruled as the gatekeeper. But there's a catch. Powerful features cost money, and even the basics come wrapped in subscriptions. Okular, meanwhile, slipped into the scene quietly from the KDE community. Free, cross-platform, and surprisingly versatile, it doesn't just read PDFs. It handles ebooks, comics, and scientific papers with equal grace. In universities and labs, Okular is a quiet hero, letting researchers annotate freely without begging IT for licenses. Acrobat may have the branding, but Okular is the tool that proves knowledge access doesn't need a toll booth. ClamAV versus Norton Antivirus. For most people, antivirus means logos like Norton, glossy boxes in computer shops, big claims of ultimate protection, and yearly bills. But in the background of the internet's defenses lies ClamAV, an open source engine trusted by mail servers and institutions worldwide. It doesn't care about flashy interfaces or scaring home users with pop-ups. It's a workhorse, scanning attachments, catching malware, and feeding data back to a global security community. Norton sells safety as a product. ClamAV treats safety as infrastructure, something too vital to be locked away. The irony? Some billion-dollar companies quietly rely on ClamAV behind the scenes, even as they sell their own branded shields. Krita versus Corel Painter. Digital painting once meant saving up for Corel Painter, a professional suite that mimicked brushes, oils, and watercolors with uncanny realism. Artists swore by it, but the price tag kept many beginners locked out. Then came Krita, a community-built canvas that asked for nothing in return. Suddenly, high school students and indie illustrators could practice with tools once reserved for professionals. What makes Krita fascinating isn't just that it's free, it's that its brush engine rivals painters in expressiveness, and studios have quietly adopted it into real workflows. Where Painter carved out exclusivity, Krita leveled the playing field, giving everyone a chance to paint like a pro.
Anytype versus Notion. For years, Notion has been the darling of productivity culture. Students, startups, even YouTubers showcase their elaborate dashboards like trophies. It feels modern, polished, and endlessly flexible. But beneath the slick interface lies a simple truth. It's all tethered to someone else's servers. That's where Anytype breaks the script. It looks just as clean, but flips the architecture inside out. Your data lives on your device, encrypted, under your control. No hidden sync fees, no risk of a platform suddenly changing the rules. For people burned by lost accounts or worried about cloud lock-in, Anytype feels less like an app and more like reclaiming ownership of their digital brain. Notion sells productivity as a service. Anytype treats it as a right. Syncthing versus Dropbox. Dropbox was once the darling of Silicon Valley, a magic folder that synchronized across devices and made USB sticks obsolete. Its simplicity turned it into a household name, but as it grew, so did the subscriptions and storage limits. Syncthing, in contrast, is almost invisible, a peer-to-peer sync tool that skips the cloud entirely. Your devices talk directly to each other. No middleman, no monthly bill. It doesn't advertise, it doesn't upsell. It just works quietly. For families sharing photos or developers syncing code, Syncthing offers the same magic without the leash. Dropbox built a billion-dollar company. Syncthing built trust without price tags. Done watching? If you like this video, hit subscribe for more cool stuff.